Friday the 13th. The Japanese force has reached Guadalcanal, and cruiser Atlanta is about to be in the battle of her life. The first of the enemy gunships move into position to bombard Henderson Field from Guadalcanal's Sea Lark Channel. But these bloody waters will soon go by another name, Iron Bottom Sound, the final grave for dozens of warships and thousands of men. 3,000 yards away, Japanese battleship Hiei and destroyer Akatsuki close in for an ambush. At point-blank range, they flood Atlanta with massive searchlights and open fire. Atlanta and the American ships immediately open up with every gun they have. The battle is on.
Practically before they knew it, their formation is pointed directly at the Japanese, and suddenly the forces are intermingled and firing at each other.
Muzzle to muzzle, these 20th century ships battle like 18th century pirates. But modern cannons are far more deadly. Shells streak across the water. The air is filled with explosions, shattering sounds of slamming steel and the cries of the wounded. Right now, Atlanta has no shortage of enemy targets. Her forward fives blow shells at 2 enemy destroyers, while her after battery aims for the searchlights on Akatsuki and cuts loose. But Atlanta is getting it back from all sides. To the left, she's hit by a storm of Japanese torpedoes that annihilate her forward engine room. And on the right, in the confusion of darkness, one of her own cruisers lobs 19 8-inch projectiles towards her deck. Dozens of sailors are killed in the salvo. Atlanta cannot escape the hellstorm. Japanese and American gunships crucify each other with savage volleys of shot and shell in Guadalcanal's Iron Bottom Sound. Hit by the direct fire from more than 6 American ships, the destroyer Akatsuki blows up. Destroyer USS Laffey closes in alongside battleship Hiei and rakes her decks with rapid-fire 5-inch shells and machine guns. From the island, U.S. Marines watch the epic battle unfold. It goes on for hours.
One of the surviving American naval officers described this particular action as a barroom brawl after the lights had been shot out, and that's exactly what it was.
Dawn reveals the scene of an apocalypse. The waters off Guadalcanal are coated in oil, debris, and human remains. Hundreds of sailors, including 2 American admirals, have been slaughtered in one of the grittiest naval gun battles of the war. Throughout the morning, a sea tug navigates the bloody waters, rescuing American sailors. Most Japanese survivors are killed. Among the casualties of November 13th is cruiser USS Juno. Lost when the ship sunk are all 5 Sullivan brothers of Waterloo, Iowa.
As a result of the loss of the 5 Sullivan brothers on the USS Juno, the Navy implemented a sole survivor policy, meaning that the sole surviving son of a family would be reassigned to non-hazardous duty. The thought being that if he continued to serve in hazardous duty, they didn't want a family that lost all of its sons in combat. So the result was sole survivors would be reassigned and would not be in harm's way.
The long morning of November 13th is one of the darkest periods in the history of the U.S. Navy. The grim tally. Cruisers Atlanta and Juno are gone. USS Laffey and 4 destroyers are wiped out. 4 additional Allied ships are damaged, and more than 1,400 Americans have perished. Once again, the U.S. Navy has had to pay a terrible price to hold Guadalcanal for another day. Enterprise's torpedo planes strike pay dirt. They are led by a lieutenant with a suitably grim name, Al Coffin. The Avengers are en route for Guadalcanal's airstrip. Suddenly, Japanese battleship Hiei comes into view. Despite being mauled by destroyer Laffey the night before, she's headed right for Henderson Field with her 14-inch guns. Hiei is a Congo-class battleship and displaces more than 36,000 tons with a crew of 1,300 men. In addition to her main battery of 8 14-inch guns, she's armed with 16 6-inch flak guns, 8 5-inch rifles, and as many as 118 machine guns. Hiei is a menacing sight on any battlefield. Coffin's torpedo planes immediately climb 4,500 feet higher into the clouds and out of sight. Their objective, split into 2 groups and maneuver into striking position to bury the Imperial battle wagon. Both groups will meet the warship head-on, one from the port bow, the other from starboard. Hiei will have nowhere to go. Any way she turns, she'll get a salvo of Enterprise's torpedoes. The crew of the Japanese battleship has no idea they're in the sights of Coffin's torpedoes. 2 miles ahead, Coffin's Avengers burst out of the clouds in 2 groups, headed right for the bow of the massive vessel. At long range, Hiei unleashes flak guns, but her fire is divided between the 2 groups of American planes. Half a mile away, the Big E's flyers are only 150 feet off the water when they release their warheads. Coffin is in the lead of the 4 planes attacking the port bow, just as Hiei cuts loose with an angry broadside from her 14-inch rifles. The Avengers pull up and run like hell for Henderson Field. Seconds later, Hiei is nailed by 3 torpedoes. She slows to a crawl and turns hard to starboard. Her rudder destroyed. She's helpless. 2 hours after the initial attack, Hiei is finished off by another round of Enterprise torpedo planes and is scuttled. For the first time in World War II, the Big E has just claimed a Japanese battleship.
I think they were credited with sinking the first battleship. It's one of their newest ones, and I believe that was the first battleship that we had sunk.
November 14th, 1942. Under the direct command of Rear Admiral Willis Lee, Washington and South Dakota, accompanied by 4 escorting destroyers, made contact with a force of 16 Japanese ships, including destroyers, cruisers, and the 29-year-old battleship Kirishima. With the opposing vessels obscured by the darkness of night, the gunnery duel quickly became a wild melee. All 4 American destroyers were either sunk or knocked out of the action, and a hit to the South Dakota knocked out her electrical system, rendering her helpless. But the Washington's new radar rangefinders, which allowed her to pinpoint the enemy's location even in the dark, coupled with her powerful 16-inch guns, were devastatingly effective.
It was a messy fight, and we had the advantage of radar that worked. And the battleship Washington picked up the battleship Kirishima, fired about 7 salvos, and the Kirishima was finished. The Japanese turned back, and the day was ours.
And that's all, folks. That's about all the footage I could find in English about the Congo-class battleship. I leave you with some footage taken by the U.S. Navy of the battleship Haruna in Kure Naval Base after she had been sunk by the U.S. Navy's Task Force 38. Her sister ship and lead vessel of the class, the battleship Congo, was also sunk on November 21st, 1944 by the U.S. submarine, the USS Sea Lion. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed this short episode. Don't forget to subscribe for more episodes, and see you all on the high seas.